Right, so we are having the kind of day in March that makes you think it's time to plant tomatoes, which it definitely is not in Maryland. It is, however, about time to plant peas. My mother, who gardened for many years in Laurel, Maryland, always said that you could actually plant peas in late February. And I have done that and they did survive. But I didn't notice that they actually matured much faster than peas that were planted in early March, which is what I'm doing now. And I thought I would just shoot a quick video on the various types of trellising that I'm using. So the peas that we have here are a dwarf shell pea, and we grew them last year and found that they were indeed dwarf. So what we can do is, technically they're not even supposed to need trellising, but they do better with it. And so I'm making what's called a pea brush, which is just taking dead branched branches and sticking them in the ground and then planting the peas right close up, so on either side. So I'll be doing a sort of a double row on either side. So planting them something like an inch-ish apart, something like that. And then do the same thing on the other side. So I've already planted that one, and you can see they're fairly close together here in the raised bed, but they're just about far enough apart that we shouldn't have too much trouble harvesting them, especially because with these shell peas, most of them ripened all at once, so it was not too big a deal to go in and shove them apart. The other thing to notice here is that I've pre-sprouted all of my peas, and this is again something that I learned very early on from my mother, and it helps to keep them from rotting in case the weather takes a turn for the cold again. So if it's cold and wet, sometimes unsprouted seeds don't do so well, but if you've pre-sprouted them indoors on a wet paper towel, then they do a lot better. This is more than I'd normally put into a dish like this, but I really wanted a lot of shell peas. They freeze well, they're delicious. I've got a pea soup recipe that I love, so I've been doing that. The other kind of pea that I've planted are snap peas, and since they are not dwarf, they can grow pretty tall. What I found, especially in these raised beds, I guess they're good nutrition, really good environment for peas. I have noticed that things that are even supposed to be dwarf, like dwarf gray sugar, which is a snow pea variety, when I grew it, it was not dwarf. So you can see a fairly tall trellis here. They were up to here, so a good 6 to 8 feet tall. And then the sugar and snap peas are not even supposed to be a dwarf. So I've constructed a very rustic, hand-built trellis, a couple screws and some branches, some bamboo stakes and some branches that we had around the property that need to be cut down. And then I'm just using jute twine hanging down. So we've got 4 rows of peas planted in this space. And hopefully they will sprout and do well this year. Last year I underestimated the amount they would climb, and so they flopped over and we didn't get as good a harvest. But this year I'm hoping for the best.